We're going to light the menorah, and there's an argument in the Gemara. How many do you light the first night, and the second night, and the third night? Right? The Gemara states the argument between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel.
Right.
Right? We know the famous argument, how many lights do you start? So Beis Hillel says
one.
You start with one, you go 2, 3, 4, 5, you go up till 8. Every night you do one more. That's the way we follow. We follow Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai says no, you start with 8.
Opposite.
You go down, the second night you go 7, 6, 5, 4.
Did people follow Beis Shammai at the time when he was?
Sure. His students followed him.
Yeah.
At that time, his students followed him. That was the, they went like him until it got to such a point that there were 2 different parts of Judaism doing 2 different things. So they had to enact that everyone follow one way, and they made a ruling, and we came out with a ruling like Beis Hillel. So therefore, the Gemara says, based on that it goes like this. That Ner Chanukah starts, the Gemara says that it's for Ish Ubeisai. Ner Chanukah starts for Ish Ubeisai, a man and his house. What does that mean? That means that it's not like a lot of other mitzvahs which are just bound to the person. Matzah is a mitzvah, you should eat matzah on Pesach. Chanukah, it's not just on the person, which means you can have a mitzvah on the person. On every person's body, he's obligated to eat matzah, he's obligated to shake a lulav, he's obligated to hear the Megillah. But here, it's Ish Ubeisai. It's on the man and his house. So, on that, they explain that you need to have a house. You need to have a house. Because the house means it's similar to mezuzah. Mezuzah is also a mitzvah which is not just on the person. Mezuzah, you have to have a house. You have to have a house to be chayiv in the mitzvah of mezuzah, to be obligated in mezuzah. You don't have a house, so the mitzvah doesn't fall upon you. Similar to what we once spoke about with Micah. Makkah. Remember what Makkah is? It's a fence.
Like a fence at the top of it.
Right? You have a roof, remember, that was 10 tefachim high, so it's a dangerous place, so you have to make sure to put a fence up. You're only obligated in that mitzvah. That mitzvah only kicks in when you have a house. Till you have a house, there's no mitzvah of Micah. So a third mitzvah that kicks in when you have a house is Chanukah. It's to light a Chanukah menorah, because that's what it says. Ner ish ubeisai. It's for the man ubeisai with his house. And when he lights, so then you get the mitzvah. So this is the first idea that they bring down, that this mitzvah is a little bit different. Why is this mitzvah incumbent upon the house? I understand mezuzah, because mezuzah says, it says you should put the mezuzah on mezuzah is Pesach on your house. So therefore I understand why you need a house. And Mike, I understand why you need a fence, you need a house for that. But why is Chanukah menorah incumbent that you need to also have a house? Why didn't they just say that everyone should light a menorah? What does it have to do with a house?
Because the Maccabees were trapped.
What?
The Maccabees were trapped.
They were trapped
in their homes, in a cave.
That could be true, but the idea, we have to look into that. That's interesting. You're saying because they were trapped in their house.
Well, just the word itself, Chanukah Habayit, is like a dedication to the house, and kind of has a.
So Irving is saying, what is the word
for the temple?
Irving is saying, let's go back to Aleph, to the first point. What does Chanukah mean? So the Gemara says Chanukah. Chanukah, the Gemara says that they rested
the 25th day.
On the 25th day. That's when they finished with the war. That's what the Gemara even brings down. Gemara says on 25th, that's when.
The 24th, you said they finished the war. The 25th is when they lit the menorah.
They rested. That's when they rested.
They lit the menorah on the 25th day. The war was over before that.
Right. Okay. So, based on that, and Irving is saying another thing. Irving is saying that also.
About the rest, huh?
Irving is saying that not only the rest, but that was the first day that they inaugurated the Mizbeach, the altar.
Dedication, yeah.
Okay, but let me tell you the idea why we have a house. Why it has to be with a house.
A house is considered to be like a Mizbeach.
The table is called your Mizbeach. The table that people eat on is like an altar, because that's why they say a person shouldn't stand on the table, shouldn't sit on the table, because the table is has holiness as compared to the mizbeach. That's true, because just like the mizbeach used to consume all the karbanos, all the sacrifices that we brought onto the altar. So nowadays we don't have an altar, we don't have any sacrifices, so our food goes on the table, so the table is compared to an altar. Okay, but the idea of why it's instituted for the house, why specifically for every house, is brought down that what happened when we got the miracle, when the miracle happened, they fought the war, they won against all those thousands of soldiers, right? We're going to read in the Al Hanisim every day of Hanukkah. We're going to see those words that describes the miracle. So in the middle of the prayers, we insert a special blessing or a prayer called Al Hanisim. Right before we bow down and we thank Hashem for everything else, we were going to say that we thank Hashem for these miracles. And part of the miracles we're going to explain is that He put the Gibayrim Biyad Chalashim. Right? Those words are familiar?
The few to many, and the pure to the
right.
wicked.
Hashem gave over the few into the hands of them, right? The many into the hands of the few, and the wicked into the hands of the tzaddikim, the righteous. And one of them is that even though we didn't have so many people, we only had the few Maccabees, we were able to win the war. So because of that, we got and they won, and they got the oil, and when they got the oil, it lit for 8 days. So we want to now commemorate that miracle. So the way they said that you should commemorate the miracle is that they said you should put it by the doorway of your house. You should place the menorah by the doorway of your house, right? Right exactly in the doorway, up to the point that you have your mezuzah on one side, the menorah is on the other side, because we want you to be surrounded by the mitzvos, and then that way you're able to light. You have on one side you're lighting the menorah, the mezuzah is surrounding you on the other side. And they said you should light it right there. Why at the doorway? Why at the doorway? Why didn't they say to light it on your kitchen table?
It's supposed to be seen from outside.
Oh.
I thought that's why you put it in the window.
The second option, if you can't put it by your door, is by the window.
When you say the door, you mean the outside door.
Right.
Like
Outside the outside door.
Outside. You're saying the.
It's interesting because
we're thinking here about Canada, you know what I mean? So,
right, you're not talking about Israel. In Israel, what they do is that they actually put it outside the door, even by the opening of the courtyard, going out to the Rishos HaRabim, going out to the public thoroughfare, which means some people have like a courtyard in front of their house, and then they have a gate with a door, and that goes out to the street. So in Israel, they put it out by the opening, like here's the house, here's their courtyard, and here's the door going out to the street, so they put it right here.
So like my cousin lives in Israel, okay? So like say 6 people that live in this apartment, okay? And they have this court,
Right.
So you're telling me that everyone can come downstairs, light their menorah outside the court, like in the courtyard.
Right, exactly.
So there should be 6 Hanukkahs there outside.
So what they do is they get like shelves or
and covers.
People, whoever gets the first position, the best position is right within the cubit amma, right near the door. It should be right next to the doorpost on the other side, not by the mezuzah. And they get that right, and it should be over 3 cubit ammas from the ground. Like here's 1, 2, 3. It should be higher than that, because else you can't really see it. And it should be even higher than that, actually. Actually, it should be higher than 10 cubit ammas, which is 10 of these, which is around up till here. It should be higher. Your menorah shouldn't be lower than here to the floor, because people should see it. So that's why, in all the schools, the sleepaway schools, so everyone has not fights, but they run and they write on the place tafus. Tafus means taken. They get this place is the best place, so they write tafus for Hanukkah, and then the next guy comes, he writes over here tafus, and then they get another shelf here. So that's the best place to put it. Now the question is, so why should it be by the opening, either by the courtyard, or why should it be by the opening of your house? The answer is, as you were saying, because we want to publicize the miracle. And to commemorate the miracle, right, what's that called in Hebrew? To commemorate and publicize it?
Farnes.
Lifarnes, right, lifarsem. Parsume Nisa. Parsume Nisa, to publicize the miracle. Right? Parsume Nisa. And Parsume Nisa is one of the big things that we try to do to publicize the great salvation that we had. We have this, by Purim also we publicize the miracle. When we read the Megillah on Purim, that's called also Parsume Nisa. That's why these two ideas are very, very precious to us, to light the menorah and to read the Megillah, up to the point that a person has to sell an extra shirt. If you have an extra shirt and you don't have money for a menorah, you have to sell that extra shirt, up to the point that that's how precious it is. It says you have to go around knocking on doors.
How come you just mentioned specifically on the rabbinic ones right now? I mean, it would be.
So these two I'm stressing. Well, I'm not sure. Not every mitzvah do you have to go sell the shirt off your back.
No, but for
these two, you know why these two are so special is because these two have this idea of Parsume Nisa, of publicizing the miracle. So we're so happy that we have this miracle, and we want to thank Hashem properly. So the way to do that is to make sure that we light the menorah. So when you light it, you're publicizing the miracle. And since the way to publicize the miracle is that we light it on the Pesach Pesach, by the opening of the house, so therefore that's why this mitzvah was instituted on the house. It was especially on the house, up to the point that if you don't have a house, you're not obligated to light the menorah. You know, they speak about all the cases if you're on a boat, but Rashi seems to be that if you don't have a menorah, then you don't light. Maybe you can
don't have a house, you said.
You don't have a house, yeah. If you don't have a house, then you shouldn't light.
What happens if you live in an apartment?
That's called your house. That's your house.
You don't have to own the house.
Right.
You have a place to live.
You have to have a place to live that you rent. Right. Then you're obligated. So therefore, because it was instituted to publicize a miracle, and they decided to put it by the entrance where everyone could see it, by the thoroughfare. So Pesach Besa, by the entrance of the house. So only someone who has a house. That's how it got hooked up to be like a mitzvah, like a mitzvah.
How did he get to the window?
Now the window is your next best position if you don't have a door, because the door has the positive idea that you get to be surrounded by mitzvahs, right? The Mishnah Berurah says that the best thing is you should be surrounded by on all sides of mitzvahs, right? Wherever you turn, there's mitzvahs all around. But if you can't do that, the next best place is to at least light it by the window, because at least by the window you get everyone looking in and everyone could see the menorah. So that's the next best place to do it. Okay, so that's the second thing here. Now let's go a little further. Now there's an idea here. So the basic mitzvah.
You're going to go into the parsha. Remember that.
Yes, we're going to go into it.
I want to remind you.
We're going to go into it. We will.
So you know the time.
No, absolutely, for sure.
But if you're at if you stay in a hotel.
If you stay at a hotel, then you should. Well, if it depends if what you're saying that you should light it. That's your house. Yeah, you light it there at the hotel for that night.
Even for
sure.
one night.
Yeah, even for one night, that's your house. The problems get if a person's traveling and he's on a plane. If you're on a plane,
That's not a good idea.
then it gets a little sticky.
Yeah.
So then you have to consult your rabbi what to do about that. Because there's times that you could still light it, so maybe you could either grab a time from before you leave or after you leave. Because the main time to light is Misha Tishka Hachama, from Shkia. From Shkia means from sunset. Right. From around sunset, which would be, let's say, 5 o'clock, 10 to 5. That's when a person should start to light. 10 to 5, 4:50 is the best. And the Gemara says, when? Until till the last people leave the street. Because the idea is to expound the miracle, to explain and show everyone. So when is the best time to show everyone? When they're in the street. And that is from the time it starts to get dark, everyone starts to go home. So you have from then until the last people go. Who's the last people? The last people, the Gemara calls them the people who are the wood choppers. The wood choppers, they're the last people. Why are they the last people? The Gemara calls them the people from Tarmudoi. What are these people? These people, they sell the wood. So in case anyone ran out of wood, so they're out in the street because they'll be there, right? Anyone need to buy wood, they're still running around the streets till it gets dark. They're the last people on the streets. So the Gemara says, how late is the last time you should light it? In the Gemara's times, when does it mean until the last people leave the marketplace? The Gemara says till the Tarmudoi, these people from Tarmudoi who used to, according to there's different views what the Tarmudoi means, but basically it means this idea. I'll read you how they say it here. Rashi explains that this was the name of a nation who used to gather the little twigs, and these people used to sell it. Yeah, so that's the. Some argue that's Rashi. Rashi explains it refers to this nation called Tarmudoi. They used to sell the wood. On the other hand, the Rif and the Rush, they say it refers to a type of wood that's called Tarmuda. And the people who pick up these little wood chips, and so since they're picking up the Tarmudas, so they're called Tarmudoi. That's the name of the people, like a shoemaker. So either way, when the last of these Tarmudois finish walking around the marketplace, then it's already then you finish the best time to light. Now, the question is, so that's a half hour. That's from ideally it's a half hour from sunset till a half hour later. So you should make sure to have a half hour's worth of oil in your menorah when you're going to light. Okay, and nowadays, if a person can't do that time, so one could light later, because at least it will be Persumei Nisa for his household. At least there will be people around still. Nowadays, there's also a question if maybe the time lengthened a little bit. Maybe now we have more time to light because there's people walking around the streets later than 5:30.
No, we say as long as there's somebody still up in your own house. Right?
So if someone can't light in that time from 10 to 5 till 5:30 for that half hour, so he could still light later because you still have the Persumei Nisa of the people in your house. There's still people in the street nowadays later, and even late at night. As long as there's one person who's up to see it, you could even light with the blessing, even late at night. As long as it's not the morning yet, you could still light up whole night. As long as there's one person up. If there's no one up, you can't make a blessing. You should still light.
I mean, up in the city?
No, in your house. Yes.
In your house, right?
Yes. That's the basic idea. And so this is where Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai start to argue about. Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai say, so Beis Hillel says, well, you should start with 1 and go up to 8. Why does he say you start with 1 and go up to 8? Which means they wanted to have 8 candles lit. So Beis Hillel says the reason is, right? Remember what Beis Hillel's reason is?
You go ascending?
Yes, you go 1 to 8. You start with 1, you go up to 2. Every day you go up 1. Why? So the Gemara says
to enhance the miracle.
Why? Why is it enhancing the miracle?
Because you're adding more.
Because that's how we count the Omer.
So the answer that the Gemara says is because we always go up in holiness. Malin b'kodesh, we always go up. V'yein moridin, we don't go down in holiness. For example, if you have, let's say something you want to use.
Like when he said counting the Omer.
Counting the Omer. Yeah, but that. I don't know if that's ascending in holiness. But we count the Omer. We count 1, 2, 3. We do go up.
You're going up to the 49th church. Well, you're not going down. Coming closer to the.
There's probably some that say you can go down too. Probably.
There isn't actually a question about how to count the Omer, but the reason why we do it like this, we spoke about this one time. That we want to
say 50, like it has something to do with number 50. It doesn't say, no, it says on the 50th thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. But the question is, should you go up or down? So
I'm saying go up because you're coming closer to the Baal Torah.
Right. So they want to say that the reason why we count up is that you're right. We want to say this many days has passed. Now you don't want to say this many days is left, because we're looking forward towards the getting of the Torah, the receiving of the Torah. So it shows our anxiousness that we say these many days left, 2 more days, 1 more day.
Okay. But going back to the menorah, I mean the Jews at the time didn't realize it's going to be for 8 days. They lit the oh, wait a minute. When they lit the menorah, their menorah, the Beis Hamikdash menorah of, which was 7, including the what do you call it? Shemesh, right?
How many did they have? 7. Okay.
That's the menorah that they lit.
Okay.
And
Fine.
because it lasted for 8 days, that's why they actually.
So Beis Shammai comes along and says the following words. He says, you have to go up, because you always go up in holiness. What's the example? I'll give you an example. Example is, what do you put on when you come to daven and you pray in the morning? You put on first your talis, and then you put on your tefillin. Why? Because the talis is one level of holiness. It is an object of a mitzvah. It's true. But the tefillin is even a higher holiness than the talis. Because the tefillin has it has Hashem's name, it has the letters, it has a yud, right? There's on the box, there's a little letter, there's a yud, there's a dalit, you'll see on the back of the strap, a dalit, and then there's a shin engraved onto the box of the head. So there's shin dalit yud, that's Hashem's name. So it has holiness, it has extra holiness.
Yes.
There we make a shin also, yes. But here you have it, it's made in actual form on the, it's tied into a shin. You'll look, there's shin, there's a shin on the box. So because it's such holiness, so therefore we start with the lower holiness. We put on the talis first. That's just an object of a mitzvah, but it doesn't have Hashem's name on it. Doesn't have all the holy parchments inside, and then we go up to tefillin. So we ascend in holiness. That's the classical example of going up in holiness. And the same thing is with a lot of different cases, but one example would be if you want to have a shul. So let's say they have to sell the shul. Let's say they don't have, let's say they want to move or something. So what could you do with this place, this building here? What would you do if you want to sell it? Could you just put it on the market and anyone could buy it and use it for wherever they want? So the rule would be that you only could go higher. You can only go up in holiness. You'd have to see each example, but you're supposed to go up. The only way you could sell this is to sell it to be a place where everyone learns. That's the higher. Let's go up higher. Holiness.
That's only in the Limud of Torah world, not the real world.
If you're able to, we'll have to see.
What are you talking about?
You have to ask your Rav, competent Rav, if you can't. But you're supposed to go higher. You shouldn't sell, let's say.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So the higher is you go from being a shul where people daven to being a place where people learn. That's a higher holiness. So that's Beis Hillel's idea. Beis Hillel says, Malin, because we always go up in holiness. Vein Moridin, we don't go down. That's his rule that we learn out. Okay, on the other hand, Beis Shammai says, no, you go down. He says, just like on Sukkos. On Sukkos, what do we have? So we count the amount of, there were certain sacrifices, there are 70 nations, and each day we bring sacrifices starting by 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, corresponding to each of the nations, right? So you get 70, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So for the 8 days of Sukkot, we also go down. We count 13 the first day, 12 the second day. So we bring an ox for each day corresponding to each of the nations.
But did anybody not rebuttal that with Ata mi odea, Echad mi odea? Because we go up there.
Yeah, but that's just the song that we sing on Pesach. Yeah. Okay, so these are the two ideas. So therefore, Beis Shammai says, well, just like the oxen that we speak about on Pesach, on Sukkot, we go down 70 from 13. The first day we speak about, they brought 13 actual sacrifices corresponding to 13 of the non-Jewish nations, 12, 11. And the last, after, that was for 7 days. The last day of Sukkot, Hashem says, this is only for you. Now I want only with the Jews. Make a small, it's called Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres means I want to make a private time with just the Jews. Stay with me one more day. And that's just for us. That's the day when we have Simchas Torah and we dance with the Torah. That's the special day that Hashem made. That's why Sukkot is 8 days. It's really started with 7. but there's one more day because of that idea. So just like there, we bring down 13, 12, 11, so too Beis Shammai says that sets the precedent that we should go down 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. So that's his idea. So therefore, and what would be the difference if you go up or down? Could be, we'll have a practical difference, would come out according to, I'll give you an interesting case.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. The question will be, let's say you have a certain amount of candles, or wicks, or oils, right? The best thing is to light with olive oil, because olive oil is, two reasons why olive oil is the best. Olive oil is very clear, it's a clear flame, and we want to have the best clear flame. You don't want it to go out.
But that's what they use at the base of Mikdash.
And the second thing is that's what they use in the base of Mikdash.
That should
right.
be the first reason.
And that's also, right? Excellent.
The first reason is that they use it for the base of Mikdash.
Yeah. Good. They're both good reasons, yes. And therefore the question is, let's say you only have a limited amount of olive oil, a limited amount of wicks. So you're not going to, let's say you lit one the first night, two the second night, and now you don't have, let's say, three for tonight. Which means the base mitzvah, when they came along and they made the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, the base mitzvah was to light one candle on each night. Then they came along and said, yeah, but if you want to beautify the mitzvah, so we do 1, 2, 3, we go up more. Right, 2 for the second night, 3 for the third night. And if you want to beautify the mitzvah even more, then each man in his house, so if you have, let's say, 2 sons, you and your 2 sons will light. You light, right? Everyone will light corresponding to the number of nights. That's how many candles you light. So the third night, you and your 2 sons, each of you will light 3. So you'll have 9 candles.
Daughters too. I mean, your wife is with you, and
so the wife,
daughters are separate. No?
Technically speaking, a woman doesn't like the
right. So the Chassam Sofer says for maybe tznius to be very modest. So the ladies, they don't light. But there's different customs. So the question would be, if you don't have the amount of, so we try to be like to beautify the mitzvah as much as we could. We try, everyone does. We do not only one. We don't just do one candle each night of Hanukkah. First of all, we do all the people that in our house, all the men that we have everyone light their own menorah. And second thing is we move up. We do 2 on the second night, 3. If you would do just the base mitzvah, you would just light 1. Now the question is, if you don't have so many candles, you don't have enough, let's say, to do this beautiful way of doing the mitzvah. So if you say, like Beis Shammai, yeah, so
but wouldn't you have enough?
If you use 8, 7, 6, you're going to run out. You could run out by the time you get down to 3 to 1. If you go the other way, you can pace yourself. You can not light, and then you can do the calculation.
Well, what's the side of going down, like Beis Shammai? If you have, let's say, if you go down, because the question is, if you right, according to Beis Hillel, that you can only go up in holiness, you can't go down. So you have to watch yourself that you don't do too many. You don't want to go down in holiness. Okay, that's an idea. You have to work out how it would come out. Those two ideas.
But your Yotzei with 1.
But your Yotzei, the base mitzvah is with 1 candle. 1 candle, that would be the base mitzvah. But it's mehadrin. It's beautifying the mitzvah. The people who are looking to make it beautiful, and here this is a little bit different than every other mitzvah, because every mitzvah we try to make it beautiful, right? That's what we say every day. We say Zeh when we cross the Yam Suf, right, the Red Sea. Hashem split the Red Sea, so it says that the Jews pointed and they said, "That's my God, Ve'anvehu, and I will beautify him. I will glorify him. I will beautify." So we learn out from here. Every Jew has to try to glorify and beautify the mitzvos. That's why we say that if you have a nice esrog, right? What type of esrog should you buy? You could buy one that has a few brown spots on it, and one that is beautiful, perfectly yellow, perfect size. So you should go for the bigger one if you're able to, because that's hidur. That's to make it beautiful. We want to beautify the mitzvahs. So you'll see when in the blessing that we say in the prayers, right in the end of the morning, the first part of the morning prayers, we say that they said as they were crossing the sea, Zakeli Vanveu, this is my God, and I will beautify him. So we say we beautify him through the mitzvahs. You should try to spend some more money on a menorah, or you should try to spend some more money on an esrog, a mezuzah. If you buy a mezuzah, right? Why is there? How much does a mezuzah cost? Right, mezuzah cost. It could cost $40, but it could cost or up to $110. Right? Why? What's the idea? So buy one for $40. Why should you pay $110? Why should you pay $80?
You can spend a lot more than that if you want.
Right, you can spend. Why should a person spend more than $40? You could buy. I have a beautiful kosher, not beautiful. I have a kosher mezuzah. It's written legibly, clear letters for $42. So why should anyone spend $80?
You want to make it beautiful.
Oh, because to get a mezuzah which is written beautifully, the handwriting is very nice and beautiful. That's worth more, right? The sofer he has to put in, right? The writer he described, he has to put in a lot more time to make it beautiful. And I had a guy at my house last night. At first he said, "What's the difference?" He didn't see the difference. Then he said, for some reason he doesn't like this type of the mezuzah so much. I said, it's clear because the scribe just wrote it. He wrote it it should be legible and clear, but it's not comparable to someone who has a beautiful, neat handwriting, right? If you have someone who's knows calligraphy.
It's an art.
Calligraphy is right. It's beautiful, right? So I had someone who came to my house and he appreciated it so much. He was looking at it and he just spent 10 minutes just looking at it and focusing and seeing the beauty of the letters until he said he got a headache, so he had to go home already. But this one was $115. That was so. What's the idea? The idea is when you have a beautiful script that's written nice, so that's beautifying the mitzvah. Right, so that's why people spend more money, depending on how much money you have to spend. Right, all there's guidelines, how much you have. But if you have money, so you should spend it on a silver mezuzah case. You should buy a nice mezuzah case, and for that matter, they bring down to buy a nice menorah. If you have a nice menorah, you should pick out the nicest one you have. If you have a silver one, it's even brought down, right? You might say, well, this is. This is gashmias, this is physical needs. So no, it's brought down in the Mishnah Brura that if you're able to, if you have a nice menorah, you should use the nicest menorah, because that's called beautifying the mitzvah. It's called hidur mitzvah. Hidur is to make it beautiful. Hidur, hadar. Hadar is beautiful, right? That's what we say at different times. Hadar, we say on Pesach, hadar is a glory. That's why we have also on the Sefer Torah, there's we have a beautiful cover, velvet cover. We have a crown on it. Right? We make it beautiful. Put a crown. There's also the hand. Some people you can put a lot of things on because you want to make it beautiful. So that's why people pay for an esrog and a lulav. They want to get a nicer one. They don't just buy the base one. So this is called hidur mitzvah. Now this is for every mitzvah. You buy a nice Megillah, right? Buy a nice Megillah case. Go through all the mitzvahs, hidur mitzvah. The truth is one also by Pesach they say hidur mitzvah. How do you have hidur mitzvah by a matzah? So, an interesting idea. How do you have hidur mitzvah on a matzah? What are you going to do? You're going to buy a nice matzah. So it could be that's true too. But when the Gemara says it, Rashi says you shouldn't eat anything much after midday because you should have a good appetite for the matzah, because if you're full you won't enjoy your matzah, and the mitzvah is to have the piece of matzah, right? The first night of Pesach to have a good piece of matzah, kezayis, an hour's worth of a matzah. So if you're full and you don't enjoy it, that's not hidur mitzvah. So Rashi says by not eating, don't fill yourself up, don't wash after midday before Pesach, because it's hidur mitzvah to enjoy your matzah more. You'll enjoy when you eat the matzah that night.
Because you're hungry.
So Rashi, because you're hungry.
You can't wash.
So that you can't wash, but you shouldn't fill yourself
No, but there's
up.
nothing to wash on. You can't eat the.
They have the.
You can't eat
They think about maybe egg matzah, but they say don't eat any of the egg matzah. Don't fill yourself up. If you need something, maybe eat a little fruit. It says eat something, a little snack. But you should try not to eat so much, because Rashi says that's hidur mitzvah. It's a new way to make a hidur mitzvah. You don't need a silver, silver cover. Here, the hidur mitzvah is by having an appetite for the mitzvah to enjoy the matzah. That's what Rashi says. It applies also for every Shabbos. That's why in every Friday afternoon, it says that after a certain time, a person should refrain from washing for bread. After the 10th hour of the day, this comes out, nowadays it would probably come out earlier, but maybe 2 o'clock or 1:30, 1 o'clock, if to see when the 10th hour comes out, check the list. But after that time you shouldn't wash for bread, because if you have a whole meal you won't be hungry for your Friday night meal, and that's a mitzvah to eat it on Shabbos, to enjoy those Shabbos. So that's hidur mitzvah. Hidur mitzvah goes on all the mitzvahs of the Torah. But here, by Chanukah, there's hidur mitzvah which is built into the mitzvah. Right? You have the idea. They built it in that it's part of the mitzvah. By the other mitzvahs, you take an esrog, you get a mitzvah. If it's a kosher esrog, you get your mitzvah. Even if it has a little brown spot, as long as it's not a black spot, you got to show the rabbi. But if it's a brown spot, you're still yotze, you still get your mitzvah. If you get one that's like a weird shape, you get your mitzvah. Maybe it's not so beautiful, but you get your mitzvah, right? The lulav should be green and the right color. It shouldn't be dried out. So you get your mitzvah as long as it's a lulav, it's not white, it's not totally dry, to get your mitzvah. If you get a little nicer esrog, then you're also getting a new added bonus called hidur mitzvah. You're beautifying the mitzvah, you get reward for beautifying the mitzvah. But that's an added thing which is optional. But by menorah, they built in hidur into the mitzvah. They built in hidur that the base mitzvah, there's 3 levels of the mitzvah. You could light one candle yourself each night of Chanukah. They built in, you should do hidur. Hidur means your whole family, all the men should also light one every night of Hanukkah. And they built in a second level of hidur. The second level of beautifying the mitzvah is that everyone in your family should light, all the men should light, corresponding to how many days it is. That's called mahadrin. That's hidur, mahadrin. And then there's mahadrin, mina mahadrin. There's a second level of beautifying the mitzvah that everyone should light corresponding to the days. So here it's built into the mitzvah. Not like every other mitzvah where if you want, or you could buy, a silver menorah. If you want, you could buy gold menorah. If you want, you could just use, one glass menorah, or you could use a little wooden menorah, or whatever. Anyone you want. This is all optional. That's optional. To buy an esrog is optional. How much you want to spend. Here, they told everyone that you should try. This is one of the 3 levels, the basic components of the mitzvah of Chanukah, is that you should try to do this level of base mitzvah 1. Or go up to do mahadrin, all the men should light 1. Or the second level of hidur is that everyone should light corresponding to the number of days. So they built it into the mitzvah. Okay, now, on the parsha, so we'll go into one point. So what do we have? The parsha of Vayeshev. Vayeshev is the story of Yosef when he was sold. Yosef he came and they said, here's the dreamer. Right? You looked over the parsha a little yet? Any interesting questions that you came across yet?
You reviewed this.
There's a lot of questions.
Well, the Chamberlain's wife, not very nice. Joseph.
Let me answer. I have
a lot of other women.
a good question.
Yeah.
When they decided to throw him into the pit to sell him, that was a based in. They had to have a based in.
Yeah. It says that they made a court. Yeah.
You have to have a court in order for them to do that. They have to have 10 people in the court.
Right.
So that was the based in, but what do you mean by that? That they?
Well, they said that he did certain things wrong. Right. They bring down that they said that he ate a limb from a live animal.
That who? That the brothers?
The brothers. So you see, no. Let's actually read Rashi. You have the Rashi there. Should we read?
I mean, how did they justify?
Let me read out.
I mean, they justified to themselves that they were doing the right thing.
Here, let me read you what happened here.
They didn't do it, and they did it because they felt they were doing it b'shem shemayim.
So,
and they were, to a certain extent, they were.
They thought they were doing something right, which means Yosef saw them eating a limb of a live animal, which he thought was a limb from a live animal. So he went and told his father that, look, Father, what are they doing? They're not doing right. They're eating a limb from a live animal. Now, the truth is, you have to understand what they were really doing. What were they doing? That's one of the seven Noahide mitzvahs, that you're not allowed to eat a limb from a live animal. So the answer is, there's different answers. One answer is that it was really not it was an animal which was, it's two answers. One answer is that it was an animal that was created by them using Sefer Yetzirah. It was they formed the animal, it wasn't a real animal. It was formed through them, and on that maybe it doesn't apply.
Formed through who?
There's a special way through Kabbalah maybe to form an animal, like the golem of Prague. You know the golem of Prague? That's also formed through extraterrestrial ideas. That's one idea.
You're going beyond us now.
Okay, anyway, let's just, we won't go into the answer. The second thing that he told his father was that there
was a second answer.
The second answer is that the animal, if you slaughter an animal and inside you see that it's pregnant and it is a baby inside, so you slaughtered the mother, and after you slaughter the mother you see that you now have a baby inside, so that baby has a special law. There's a whole Gemara in Chulin that animal you could eat without slaughtering it. It's called in Hebrew a ben pakua. Ben pakua is a son of one that was like taken out of the mother. So therefore, he didn't realize that they were eating a son of a mother that was slaughtered already. And the mother's slaughter, the fact that they slaughtered the mother, that gave everyone, you're allowed to eat the baby, at least on the rules of the Torah before the rabbis came in. But on the laws of the Torah, you're allowed to eat the baby. So they saw him taking a limb off of a live animal, but it really was a ben pakua.
That's Yosef.
Yosef saw him eating. He saw them eating it.
Yeah.
So he thought it was Erev Menachai. He thought you were eating a limb from a live animal. So therefore, he told his father, "Look, father, what are they doing? It's not right." And he also told his father that they're they're degrading the wives. There was Yaakov had 4 wives. 2 of them were maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah, and Bilhah and Zilpah had a few children. So Yosef said that they're the tribes, they're calling those kids that they're the sons of the maidservants, which is degrading for them. So that was the second thing that he told his father. So you have to know.
Yeah, but what I want to know is like this: how did the brothers justify to themselves to say that what they're doing is mina shemayim?
So what was their? You want to know what went on in their court?
They had a court, you know. They're righteous people.
Yeah.
They have to justify to themselves that what we're doing here is right. No?
Yeah.
They're not genuvim. We're not talking about people. We're not talking about like a shmai drai.
Yeah.
But wait, weren't they going to kill him at first?
Yeah.
They felt justified.
They were just jealous.
No. Jealousy belongs to, let's say, somebody, let's say you and I at that level.
No.
These are not jealous people. These are people far beyond that.
Right.
It has to do with the fact, I think, that they were concerned and worried about that they know that the great nation of Klal Yisrael is going to be coming out of somebody. Maybe they were afraid it was going to come out of just Yosef, and they're not going to be part of that whole nation.
Does that make it better?
I don't know. I want to know what makes them justified to have a court to say to themselves, yeah, we're doing the right thing. We should throw them in. First of all, they said that we should throw them into the pit. And then they said, why should we do this to our brother? You know, let's sell him. I mean, how did they come,
Okay, so it says right here, it is true that the brothers had reason to dislike Joseph. According to their own evaluation of their mission and his deeds, they had reason even to hate him. But their verdict was tainted by jealousy, and because men of their stature had no right to be jealous. God made them the instruments to bring Joseph to Egypt in such a heartless manner. to the lot of the calamity of having sold their brother into slavery and causing their father 22 years of grief.
So we'll have to
So
look
it's
up
jealousy. Then
Their verdict was tainted by jealousy.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a true verdict. It wasn't
Okay.
like a
No, so we have to look it up.
objective.
We have to look up exactly. There was a court. They did conduct a court.
But what Michael is saying is I mean, what he read there is that they had a court, but it was because of their jealousy that made the verdicts.
It does say they were jealous.
It says that the brothers knew that Yaakov loved Yosef out of all of them, more than all of them.
Yeah. So it does say they were jealous. If you want, maybe next week we'll focus on this. Next Wednesday night, and we'll go into the whole idea of what was the court, what was their reason, why did they convict him? They held he was guilty, which means they were all holy people, up to the point that when they made this court, they said no one's allowed to tell our father Jacob what we do.
Is that right?
Up to the point
They were right.
you know who they held into this secret that they banned that no one's allowed to tell Yaakov. They said no one here is allowed to tell Yaakov, and also Hashem. They said God also can't tell Yaakov. So Hashem agreed. That's why Yaakov he was a prophet, right? When he left,
Does
he
Yaakov find
spoke
out
to
at
God,
the end of all of this?
but God didn't tell him anything for these 22 years.
Does Yaakov know at the end?
In the end, what?
After when they say Yosef is alive.
Did he find out that they sold him? It's a great question. You have to look for hints through the verses and Rashi. I could show you different Rashis. It's a good question to try.
I don't believe he knows it.
Certain Rashis say that he did. Certain Rashis sound like he didn't. Because like when he told, what did he tell Yehuda? What did he tell the tribes when he gave them the blessings?
He wasn't short of words.
But he told them, right? You have to. I'll just
He wasn't a
give you one.
shy guy. He told them the way he saw it.
I'll give you one proof that he did know. You could look for different proofs as we go through the next 2-3 weeks. But one proof is that he told Shimon and Levi, you're too impulsive. You killed out a city, Shechem, and you also ikru shar. You uprooted a shar. What's a shar?
A shar is an animal.
What type of animal is a shar?
It's a bull.
Sure,
No, it's no, it's not a cow. It's not a cow. It's ox.
No, that's an eagle. It's an ox. Excellent. When you learn the Gemara about damages, you'll learn all about an ox. But it says that they tried to uproot an ox. So Rashi says, who's that ox?
Ox is Yosef.
Says Rashi. Says Rashi. No. No. Rashi says we learn out that Yosef is compared to an ox. Right. We'll see in the last blessings of the Torah that he's compared to an ox, to a shar. The chor shar is hadar. There's a beautiful hadar. Hadar is a beautiful ox. That's what Moshe calls the blessings in the last verses of the whole Torah. So it says they wanted to uproot Yosef, who's called an ox. If you look at the pictures, if you ever see the pictures of all the tribes, right? Like one is done as like a snake.
Right.
There's a lion.
Every tribe has an animal.
So what's Yosef? You'll see he's an ox. You'll see.
So they thought that
You have to check up Yosef. I think he's an ox.
No, one of them is a bull. I don't remember. Ephraim or Menashe is a bull.
Okay, we'll have to check that out. But on this idea, it seems that they tried. Yaakov seemed to have known because he gave them a curse. He said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "You're going to be separated, Shimon and Levi. You guys are planning too much." Ish Alochev, who planned it out? You'll keep your eyes open in the parsha. One man said to his brother, "Let's throw Yosef in the pit." Who was that one man to his friend?
Reuben. So he
Wasn't Reuben.
So you go back and save him.
But who said let's kill him? Who said first let's kill them?
Shimon.
Shimon said to Levi, Ish Alochev, the man to his brother. Which man to his brother? The same man to his brother who killed out the city in Shechem last week. So Yaakov said, I got to separate you two. You guys can't be together. You guys, you got to, you got to separate two sisters who they fight. So Yaakov said, Achal came, Yaakov. I have to separate you. And those two brothers, Shimon and Levi, that's the idea. Yaakov seemed to understand that they tried to uproot the ox. They tried, they weren't successful. So it seemed from that Rashi that he did realize it. On the other hand, is different. We'll go through maybe next week a few different proofs the other way.